Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian. I'm streaming to you live from Europe. I hope everybody is having a fantastic weekend so far, enjoying life, staying safe, and staying optimistic. In this class, everyone, we are looking at IELTS Speaking Part 2, the cue card, the long part. And I'm going to tell you how you can score a Band 9 doing this the right way. Now, this is a members chat class. Everybody is welcome to watch. To become a member, click the join button next to the subscribe button on our channel. Welcome, Ali. Hi, Janil. There are our members joining in. Again, this lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS success. Please visit us there. For the general IELTS, check us out at gieltshelp.com. On both of our websites, we have lots and lots of help for you. Now, we will have an all chat class coming up in 90 minutes that will focus on speaking part 3, which will be connected to this speaking part 2. So it's a good idea to hang in there even if you're not a member and watch this class through. Welcome Prathamesh, Mihir, Nico, Carolina, Mahmoud, Rashika. Good to see you all. Okay, everyone. So this is a speaking class, so make sure to speak and repeat. Speak and repeat. All right. Of course, everybody, you should remember to practice your speaking on our websites. It's for free. You can practice in your My Student account by clicking on the student partner speaking. This is our aehelp.com website. You can click that big red button to join our premium package. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access. It really doesn't cost much for what you get, so it's definitely worth it. We are an IELTS registration center and British Council agents. And for the general IELTS, it's the green background, and you can click that big red button to join our premium package there. And again, once you're in your My Student account, students, you have this big button, the student partner speaking button there. So click on that and make sure to practice your speaking. Okay, it's the button right there, student partner speaking. Okay, so if you have questions, send me an email, adrian@aehelp.com. And a really important announcement today, everyone. This is very important for our members and for all of our viewers. I'm changing my office from Europe back to my Canadian home office after quite some time here in Europe, and that is going to be at the end of this month. So take note of the schedule for the coming couple of weeks. So today we still have the speaking, of course, and then as usual, no class Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I've got a lot going on, as you can imagine, having to move an office to the other side of the world. So we will have one more speaking part 1 class for everyone on Wednesday. And then from March 18th all the way until April 6th, there's no live classes. We will have new videos. And as I just said, we're moving our office. So the classes will start back up again on April 7th, and I know that comes as a little bit of a shock to everyone, but at the same time, it's kind of exciting news as well. We have a better studio there, we have better internet, we have better lighting, so you're going to see much better live streams as well. Yeah, back home, Andre, to put it simply. And the time, we did a poll on our YouTube community, so we tried to find the best time to do these live classes, because I will be according to Pacific Standard Time, Vancouver time. So we checked what time works best for most people, and 50% of people from a few thousand voted that the best time for them would be this time range here, which is the Universal Standard Time, and that is going to be Universal Standard Time 2:30 and 4 a.m. Of course, that's in the evening for me on the Pacific. So make sure you take a note of that, okay? Whatever time that is. We'll try this. If it's really not working for people, we can discuss different times, but it looks like half of all of our viewers prefer this kind of time range, okay? All right. So we will be continuing, of course, our live classes. We will have lots more videos and lessons, new exams for those of you who have access to our websites coming up as well. Okay, so yeah, I can see a lot of you are excited about that. So am I. Definitely so am I. But still a long ways to go. To be perfectly clear about this, COVID is making this quite a challenging move, to say the least. But hopefully everything will go well. In case anybody's interested, I have to do 3 negative COVID tests from point A to final destination. So, okay. Here we go. So, Shahrab, we will have listening classes, of course, in the future as well. If you need some listening practice, there are some great videos on the channel too. Okay. All right, everyone. So, part 2, cue card. It is kind of the cornerstone of your speaking. Does anybody know why I say that? So why do I say part 2 is the cornerstone of your speaking interview? Okay, so consider, does everybody know what a cornerstone is? Consider part 2 the cornerstone of your speaking interview. Okay. So why do I say that? Why do I say that part 2 is the cornerstone of your speaking interview and your speaking mark? Okay. So what's up with that? Why do I say that? There's logic to that, of course, and that's why it's really important to do well. So Andre says because it's the most important. Yeah, kind of, Andre. Can you be a little bit more specific what you mean by most important? Okay. Can anybody tell me why part 2 is, I mean, all 3 parts are very important. Oa says it is fundamental for part 3. Yeah. And it is the deciding factor for the higher band scores. 6.5 to 9. Okay. So, simply put, when you are answering the questions in part 1 is basically testing to see if you can have a basic conversation. So like band 1 to band 5, band 5.5. And then part 2 is really where the examiner is figuring out whether or not you are a band 6.5, a 7.5, or a band 9 level. They have some idea in part 1, but it really becomes clear for them during part 2, and then of course part 3 being connected to part 2. Okay. And Osman says it's the most intense part of the test. Yeah, Osman, I think for many people it is, because we're not used to giving mini presentations, right? So you really have to show your fluency. You have to be specific. Okay, so some important points to keep in mind is you have to maximize your time in part 2. Okay, no unnecessary language like thank you for giving me the opportunity, or today's question Let's just take a look at this and then I can give you a little bit more information. So part 2 here is talk about a river, lake, or sea that is important for your country's economy. Okay, so we're talking about a location here. What is this body of water? How was it used in ancient times? How is it used today? Why is it important for your country's welfare? Okay, this could very easily be a question for your part 2, asking about a location, asking about a body of water that is important to your country's economy. Basically, every country has some body of water that's important for the economy. Humans are heavily dependent on water, of course, so this question could be in anyone's country. Okay, all right. Okay, so some students might start by saying there are several different rivers and lakes that are important. And the one I want to talk about today is, okay, so as you can imagine, I have heard and examiners have heard these kinds of starts to your part 2 way too often. They're time wasters, okay? And the problem is that you're not getting marks because it's just memorized template speaking. That kind of speaking does not get marks. In fact, in the IELTS, during the sit-down portion of your test, they will even tell you, the invigilators will say that memorized answers will not get marks, okay? All right? So, so you have to maximize your time, no unnecessary language, okay? You have to give clear explanations, smooth examples, and lots of descriptive details. Okay? That's one point to remember. Another point that you have to remember is make sure to answer all the questions. In 90 seconds. And then if you still have time, give additional details. Okay? So you have to answer all of the questions on the card. If you miss questions, it's not complete and there's no way that you're going to get a band 9. You're definitely not going to do as well as you could if you answered all of the questions. Okay? So that's really, really important. And also, of course, connect your ideas and choose a good answer so that you can use it further in part 3. Okay, so keep all these points in mind, everyone. Okay, all right, super, super important. Okay, so here in this question, we are dealing with location. Everybody's got that, right? We're dealing with location, and when you deal with a location, it's one of the 5 major categories that you might get asked about is a location. What do you have to remember? What speaking points? Okay, what are your speaking points for location? And try to give me the correct order of information. So structure is very important as well, okay? You have to have very good structure. It's another point to remember. Have a clear and coherent structure. Okay? Really, really important. So when we're talking about location, how do we do that? What should we tell a person first when we talk about a location? Okay? So give me just the speaking points. So here there are 4 or 5 really clear speaking points when we're talking about a location. What are they? Okay? So when we're talking about a place, I shouldn't say, instead of location, I'm going to say place, because one of the speaking points is location. All right? Okay, so Carolina says appearance, function, attendees, history, meaning for you. Okay, almost Caroline, almost the right order there. Okay, so the location, right? So where it is, appearance, what it looks like, attendees, the people that go there, activities, so what happens there, and perhaps the history. Okay, that can be a part of activities, what happens there, what happened there. It's good to remember. And if you're going to talk about history, it's probably a good idea to talk about past activities before present activities. And then you want to talk about its meaning for you. Okay, and if you're thinking about the question that we're looking at, then the meaning for you is here synonymous with the meaning for your country, because of course you are a resident of that country, so you live there. So whatever its meaning is for your country is also meaningful for you. Okay, so that's what you have to talk about, and in this order. So number one, location. Where is it? Appearance. What does it look like? Attendees. Who uses this location? History. What happened in the past there? Activities. What's happening there now? And the meaning. And here, it's very valid because the question is asking you, how was it used in ancient times? So long time ago. Okay. All right. So now we also want to figure out the tense. So what tenses should we be careful to use in this answer? So what are we using here? What are the tenses that we're mostly focusing on? Okay. What are we focusing on? So what are the tenses? By tenses, of course, I mean verb tenses. Okay, present perfect, present tense, prathameshya, absolutely. We're using present because we're dealing with the current use of this body of water. And Janelle says also the past. Yeah, past simple, present perfect. So everything from past to present. Yeah, so past and present. Perfect and progressives, right? Absolutely. Okay. We want to use all of those here because the question asks us about how it was used and how is it used. So the question reveals the tense, right? Okay, good. All right. So now the next step. So this is happening very quickly. Of course, the examiner is presenting you with the card. They read the card topic or topic statement, and then your planning happens really fast. What do you do next? So you read the questions, you realize that it's a location, so you need to talk about appearance, the attendees, history, activity, meaning for you, and then you know you have to include past, present tenses, and then now I don't know about future tense, me here. Might not. I would only use the future here, me here, if I answered all of the questions and the examiner hasn't stopped me and I still have a bit of time, then I might use the future, but definitely not a focus here. Okay, so future is not a focus. It's much more about the past and the present. Okay, so Carolina says, think of 2 or 3 possible choices. Yeah, a lot of countries have several bodies of water that could be very important for the country's economy. Okay, sure. Okay. So think of 2 to 3 good choices and pick the best one. All right, so I'm sure we're going to have a few different ideas for this because different people, of course, live in different parts of the world. So have a few choices here, okay? So a body of water that is important for your country's economy, okay? All right, so give me some ideas. What are some good picks? Think about your country, and in your country, what is a body of water that is really important for your country's economy? Okay, Alpha says Ganges River, not River Ganges, Ganges River. Okay, the Ganges River. Carolina says Atlantic Ocean, Colombia. Yeah, it's good if you give me the country because otherwise it's hard to figure out exactly what you're talking about. Colombia, there we go. Okay, let's see some other ones. Kashirsha says Black Sea and Pacific Ocean. Kashirsha, what country? Russia. Yeah, Black Sea for sure. Baikal Lake or Lake Baikal. All right. Forat River, Syria. Okay. Let's see. Tanya says Baikal Lake, Russia. All right. Janil says the Arabian Sea, India. Okay. So lots and lots of choices there. Okay. Good. So clearly this will depend on your country, and I'm sure this is going to be a bit of a geography and human geography lesson for us as well. Elise says Red Sea, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We'll put that up there as well. So Red Sea, KSA, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Sure. Let's get that up there as well. Yeah, so Prathamesh says the Godavari River, India. So, of course, when you have a country as big as India with 1 billion people, you're going to have several bodies of water that are quite important. All right, I'm going to pick one here instead of taking a vote, just because I want to pick one that I think everybody will be able to contribute to fairly well, okay? So let's go with, of course, I encourage you to practice this on your own later as well. So let's go with the Arabian Sea, India, okay? So that's quite a central body of water, and it's quite important for several countries in the region. I know that. So we're going to go with this one, okay? We'll go with the Arabian Sea in India. Okay, so now our next step, of course, is to write down some useful notes. Okay. First of all, it's location. So you don't need to write down location. You have to have this memorized by the time you get to your test. I'm using this just for teaching. Okay, so all you do is write down a couple of notes for the location of the Arabian Sea. In regards to, of course, people in India. Where is it? So where is the Arabian Sea located? I'm sure many of you know it's one of the biggest bodies of water in the world. So what can you say? Where is the Arabian Sea geographically located on our planet? What can we say about it? Okay, so Alpha Forest says the Indian Ocean west of India. Okay, yeah. So Western India. Yeah. The Western India or West Indian coast. The Indian Ocean. Okay. What else can we say about it geographically? Okay. Mihir says in the region of the northern Indian Ocean. Okay, so you can be more specific. West and North Indian coast, the Indian Ocean. Okay, good. think about other areas that might be surrounding it. So it's not just India, right? What other countries border the Arabic Sea? Okay. Yeah, so always says it's east of the Arabic countries. Okay, that's a good note to add. Okay. Which Arabic countries? So, which Arabic countries are on its other side? So, there we go. Mihir says Pakistan, Iran, Oman. Okay, so those are some of the countries. Good. That's what you want to do. So, you'd want to write that down in your notes because obviously that's going to become very useful for us as we speak later on, okay? Okay. Ali says Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Very good. Yeah. Okay, great. So now we've got, because obviously it's a trade route, right? So Oman, yep, very good. All right, so now its appearance. What does it look like? So what does the Arabic Ocean look like? Describe it for me. Is it dark blue, deep blue? Is it a turquoise color? Is it all of those? Is it a calm ocean? Is it sometimes dangerous, stormy ocean? Does it have a lot of sea life in it? So what can you tell me about the appearance of the Arabic Ocean? Okay. Alpha, you can say that it's in the Middle East. So it's one of the largest bodies of water in the Middle East. Yeah, that's something that should naturally come to mind. So you shouldn't have to write that down, Alpha, that it's one of the largest bodies of water in the Middle East. Okay. Okay, so OS says it's deep. It's dark blue. Okay. How big is it? Anybody? Just a rough estimate of how you would speak about its size. Okay, it's saline, so it's very salty. Saline, that's the word for when water is very salty. We call it saline water. Okay. It's massive. Instead of saying massive, Abhil, can you give me like roughly a guess of its size? How many square kilometers do you think it is? All right, very good, Alpha Force. Alpha Force says it's 2/3 the size of Africa, for reference. Okay, very nice. Okay, that's what we want. It's a dangerous ocean. It's full of life. Okay, dangerous is kind of... Mihir says it's roughly about 2,500 kilometers across. Sure. So 2,500 kilometers coast to coast. Okay. Saurabh says more than 1 million square kilometers. Yeah. So that's how I would write that in my notes, 1 million square kilometers plus. Okay, so now we have a bit of description. Good. We don't want to get carried away with these just yet. Okay. All right. So now we go to the attendees. Okay. So who uses it? Who uses the Arabic Ocean? Okay. Give me some good ideas. This is where you want to be really quick. Jot down some ideas because this will be very useful for your response. So who uses the Arabic Ocean? And I want to see everybody jump in there, even people that are on the other side of the world like Carolina, even people that might not know a lot about the Arabic Ocean or as much as some of the people who are closer. I'm sure you can take some good guesses at what goes on for such a large body of water. Okay. All right, so Janil says fishermen. Sure. Okay. Andrew says tourists. Yeah. Okay. Ali says traders, imports, exports. So shipping and cargo. Yeah, sure. Okay, transport companies. Ali says even pirates. Yeah, I've heard about that. It's kind of an interesting note. Pirates, yeah. Fishermen, tourists, shipping cargoes. Okay. Simply transport, right? For people going from one place to another. Maybe not by plane, but by boat. Okay, very good. History. Okay, so historically, what do you think the Arabic or the Arabian Sea was very valuable for? So historically, Janil, very good. Janil says the army as well, military. Yeah. Okay. So what was it? Yeah, and very good. So Saurabh says, let's not say military. Instead, let's be more specific and say Navy. And if you remember that word, then that's even better. Absolutely. Okay. So what's the history? What do you think would have been some of the major uses of the Arabian Sea back in ancient times? So through the thousands of years in history. Okay, Alpha, we don't need to go back to the creation of the location. I think that's too much detail. You have to focus on more the card, right, which is economy, the economy of the country. Okay, so warfare, says Carolina. Yeah, I'm sure history would have included warfare. Okay, Middle East connecting, very good. So connecting Middle East to Asia, so trade routes, right? Trade, and if you're thinking about history, one that should always come to mind, of course, is exploration. And food, right? Okay, and then currently, so now, the activities. So same as before in tourism, right? So it would be the same, tourism, bigger, more, right? Now, these notes you don't have to write down. You should just remember these, but if it helps, then write them down. You don't have too much time in the 1 minute, so you have to be very, very selective about what you write down. I'm also writing some information down for, of course, practice purposes for the class, okay? All right. And then your opinion. So importance for you. Now, the importance for you, of course, is how you're connected to this. So now let's go back to the people of India here, because that's how we started with. So why is the Arabian Sea important for a person in India? Okay, what comes to mind? So if I ask some people who are living in India, and I ask, how does having the Arabian Sea impact your daily life? What does it add to your everyday living? Okay? Don't get lost in too much history, Alpha Force. Be careful. Always stay focused on the question. Okay? Alpha Force as source of oil, seafood, trade, and navies. Yeah. Mihir says the busiest ports. Okay. The busiest ports of India. Brings goods into the country. Okay, very good. What percent? So, I mean, you don't have to be accurate here, but don't forget your quantitative language. And I highly, highly suggest putting a few numbers in. So food, of course, is very important as well. here, you definitely should include at least a couple of numbers in your notes so that you can remember to use quantitative language. So, what percent of India's international trade and economic movement do you think depends on the Arabian Sea? Okay, so Ali says probably like 60%. Okay, these don't have to be perfectly accurate. It can just be a guess. So 20% of all GDP, maybe more, maybe 30%. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It's just that you have this specific. Okay, so now before your 1 minute is up, you must think of your first sentence. Okay. So give me the first sentence to this cue card. Okay, I'm going to look at the cue card again. Talk about a river, lake, sea, or ocean that is important for your country's economy. What is this body of water? How was it used in ancient times? How is it used today? Why is it important for your country's welfare? Okay, your first sentence has to be ready to go. It's super, super important, and it has to be a direct sentence. Again, do not say things like, oh, there are lots of different lakes and rivers and oceans that are important to India's economy, but the one that I'd really like to talk to you about today is, whoa. Let's just start with that, okay? So a very important body of water for the economy of India is, boom, okay? Osman says 60% of the world's oil goes through the Arabian Sea. That's a good point, Osman. Okay. So Mahmoud says the Arabian Sea has a big impact on India's economy. Mahmoud, notice my corrections. The Arabian Sea has a big impact on India's economy. Carolina, the Arabian Sea is one of the most essential bodies of water for India's economy. The Arabian Sea is one of the most essential bodies of water for India's economy. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so the Arabian Sea is arguably the most important body of water for India's economy. All right. Very good. Very nice. Scale is down a bit. Okay. All right, so let's do this. So now the examiner says, okay, Jainil, your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking. And so Jainil starts speaking right away. Well, the Arabian Sea is arguably the most important body of water in India's economy. Okay, continue. So using the notes, using the structure that we talked about, location, appearance, attendees, history, start talking. So give me the location. So where is it? Okay. All right. Mihir says, this sea is a region of the northern Indian Ocean, and it's the most vital body of water for India's economy. Okay, so Mihir, you're starting with that, and you already have a little bit of location there. Okay, so... Okay, so this massive body of saline water is located in the northwestern part of India as part of the Indian ocean. Let's see what else you come up with, okay? So I'm moving you along here. Let's get talking, okay? And everybody, this is a speaking class, so don't just type, but speak. So when you see this, read it aloud, say it aloud, okay? All right. Oh, it says this important body of water is a resource for India's economy and other countries as well. It's located west of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and north and in the North Indian coast. Okay, all right. Mahmoud says it is located west in west of India and under the Arabian peninsula near Oman. Okay, Mahmoud, I believe you're saying peninsula there. It's a half island. It's not a full island, so it's a peninsula. Okay, called the peninsula. Ali says this prominent body of water is an important port for traders. Ali, you're jumping ahead. Okay, so careful, because then what happens is you're going to jump around. So Ali, just like in a movie where they show you kind of like from a helicopter the location of where everything will happen, that's what you have to do in your speaking. So show your examiner where everything that you're talking about will take place. Okay, so this massive body of saline water is located in the northwestern part of India as part of the Indian Ocean and east of many Arabian countries such as KSA, Oman, and south of the country of Pakistan. It connects the ports of these Arabian and Asian nations across more than 1 million square kilometers of dark blue water. Okay, so we're moving along, right? Okay. So good, Ali, I see that you got it, all right? Always create the setting so that the person can feel present. Yeah, very nice, okay? All right. So it connects the ports of these Arabian and Asian nations across more than 1 million square kilometers of dark blue water, and then more connections filled with an abundance of sea life. Okay. Great. Now, let's see, what else do we have? It's one of the widest seas of Asia, stretching 2,500 kilometers, connecting many countries. It's deep and has dark blue water, and it's saline, has many islands and beaches. Yeah. Okay, very nice, Oas. Mihir, at its widest point, the sea is approximately 25 kilometers, and its depth can reach upwards of 4,500 meters. Very good, Mihir. Okay, notice my corrections there. All right, let's talk about the history of it. Now, here, careful with the question. The question says ancient times. When you see this ancient times, how long ago is that? So how long ago do you think ancient times is? So when an examiner asks you the question of in ancient times, how many years should you be going back? What do you think? Okay. So how many years should you be going back when the question is ancient times? not 2 to 300, not 100. It's thousands of years. That's right. Okay. Ancient times is thousands of years. Long time ago or centuries ago, it's hundreds of years. Ancient times is thousands of years ago. Okay, so like 1, 2, 3,000 years ago. So I would start here by saying historically, stretching back thousands of years, the Arabian Sea has been used, by sailors for trade, exploration, and warfare. Okay. So that's how I would start. Now, what do I need to add here to make sure that I'm speaking directly about the card? So what's missing at this point? Okay, I'm really pushing you here because we have about 7-8 minutes in the class and I want to get done, but I want you to really kind of focus in on how to make this a quality answer. So historically, stretching back thousands of years, the Arabian Sea had been used by sailors. I can add one word in here to make sure that I'm being much more specific to the card. What's missing here? What's missing from this sentence to make it better? It's just one word. Can anybody guess what that word is? Okay. It's not an example. It's not the smooth example. It's not what I'm thinking about at this point. Okay. So just one word here. What's the card asking me to do? Talk about a body of water that is important for the economy of my country, right? So you have to keep remembering that, right? So this is much better, okay? You want to emphasize that. So historically, stretching back thousands of years, the Arabian Sea had been used by Indian sailors for trade, exploration, and warfare. Back in the early 300s, Indian sailors discovered much of the Indian coast, navigating the trade winds of the Arabian Sea. They had brought with them fabrics such as silk and spices to trade with neighboring communities. Okay. All right. So that's how you keep going. You have to be very specific to the question. Okay. Prathamesh says in the 17th century it was used for trading goods like spices and gold from India with European countries. Yeah. So Prathamesh, you can say later in the 17th century, this trade extended further across the sea to European countries for not only food and such amenities, but also gold and people. Okay, so human capita, right? And I don't necessarily mean slave trade, which obviously was probably part of it as well, but people moving from country to country, right? So later in the 17th century, this trade extended further across the sea to European countries for not only food and such amenities, but also gold and people. Okay. Then I go to present day. Okay. Amenities, Saurabh, in this case means goods such as silk, okay, or fabrics, which are kind of the amenities that are the luxuries. So luxury goods, amenities, Saurabh, luxury goods. Okay. All right. So then I go to modern times. During modern times, the Arabian Sea still serves much the same purposes as it did throughout history, but on a much grander scale. Nowadays, hundreds of massive trading or cargo ships leave the ports of India with millions of dollars worth of merchandise. Okay. All right, so now I'm just moving along. The focus here, so notice what I'm doing. I'm always focusing on the question. The question is about economy, and it's about a body of water that's important for India. So I'm keeping that in my mind throughout my response. So it's like the card is moved from the table in front of me to a projection, okay? For me, when I did the speaking part of the IELTS exam and I was looking at the examiner for part 2, visually I was actually imagining as if the examiner had this card around their neck and it just kept flashing like a neon sign, like talk about, well, for me it was a place of enjoyment in your city. So talk about a place of enjoyment in your city. Talk about a place. But for us here, it's a body of water that's important for your country's economy, a body of water. So it's just flashing. So you're constantly attacking that specific question, okay? It's not good when students go off onto other topics. Like lots of people like to go to the beach along the coast of the Arabian Sea because the beaches are really beautiful. And I went there with my dad and I went fishing there with my dad. And it's like, okay, so the country's economy, how is that connected? So that's a big danger, and you have to make sure that you don't go off topic. Okay? Everybody clear on that? So Janil says later, between the 16th and 18th centuries, the British Indian Company traded not only spices and foods, but also valuable materials, gold and diamonds, from India with other European countries. Very nice, specific example, Janil, the British India Trading Company. Very good. Oh, it says nowadays the Arabic Sea is used for fishing, which is an integral part of the economic profit for KSA in India as well. It has been a destination of tourists from everywhere. Very good, OS. So that's what I would add. So furthermore, the sea is a major food source for many countries, for such luxuries as prawns and fish. The fishing industry of India nets billions of dollars from this valuable resource. Okay. All right. Last but not least, it is a tourist hotspot for all kinds of water recreation, such as diving, surfing, and pleasure boating, which also brings in hundreds of millions of dollars annually. If I had to guess, I would say that roughly a third of India's economy is dependent on the Arabic Sea. The Arabian Sea is more accurate. Okay, so there we go. So you see the pattern. So I'm really just going through the steps. Okay? All right, everyone. Let's do this from the top. So just read, repeat. If you feel confident that you don't need to read, then just repeat me, okay? Here we go. The Arabian Sea is arguably the most important body of water for India's economy. This massive body of saline water is located in the northwestern part of India as part of the Indian Ocean and east of many Arabian countries such as KSA, Oman, and south of the country of Pakistan. It connects the ports of these Arabian and Asian nations across more than 1 million square kilometers of dark blue water filled with an abundance of sea life, reaching depths of up to 4,500 meters. Historically, stretching back thousands of years, the Arabian Sea had been used by Indian sailors for trade, exploration, and warfare. Back in the early 2300s, Indian sailors discovered much of the Indian coast, navigating the trade winds of the Arabian Sea. They had brought with them fabrics such as silk and spices to trade with neighboring communities. Later in the 17th century, this trade extended further across the sea to European countries for not only food and such amenities, but also gold and people. During modern times, the Arabian Sea still serves much the same purposes as it did throughout history, but on a much grander scale. Nowadays, hundreds of massive cargo ships leave the ports of India with millions of dollars worth of merchandise. Furthermore, the sea is a major food source for many countries for such luxuries as prawns and fish. The fishing industry of India nets billions of dollars from this valuable resource. Last but not least, it is a tourist hotspot for all kinds of water recreation, such as diving, surfing, and pleasure boating, which also brings in hundreds of millions of dollars annually. If I had to guess, I would say that roughly a third of India's economy is dependent on the Arabian Sea. All right, your time is up. Please stop speaking. Now I will ask you some questions related to the topic of part 2 and a question or two connected to your response. Okay. All right, everyone, so stay on topic, be specific. Notice how specific my answer is. That's what you need to do, okay? That's the right way to get a band 9, okay? And that's what we are focusing on right now. And coming up in 30 minutes, we're going to continue this with speaking part 3. So make sure you come back in 30 minutes so that we can continue from there. For everybody watching, check us out at aehelp.com for academic IELTS, geltshelp.com for general IELTS. We've got lots of goodies there for you for a one-time payment, lifetime access, not a lot of money, so well worth it. Janil, yeah, keep using those notes. Very good. You're welcome, Rashika. Great job, Ois. Hopefully, I will see all of you in 30 minutes, half an hour. I'm Adrian, signing out for now. I'll be back shortly. Bye.